When talking with our elders, talking with many elders, how things used to work was with that clan system. And every family, every head of that family would send a rep from different clans, and they would meet and they would make those decisions amongst themselves. And nobody was excluded. Nobody was ever excluded. And there was no ego-based thinking back then. There was none. It was all traditional thinking. And when we think traditionally, we have a good peripheral. Everybody that's sitting in here is included. But if we have that ego thinking, we can say, well, you can go, maybe you can't go, and it's like, it doesn't work. Our role as men is to protect the women and children. First and foremost, it's to protect those women and children. And when they arrived in those big boats, Kichichiman and Mishtu, like they call them, those big bearded guys. Mishtu, bearded people are coming. The women, I've heard this story many times from different people, where the women sent the men over there to meet those guys that were coming off those big boats. And those guys that came off those big boats thought they were meeting with the leaders. They weren't the leaders. It was those women that sent them there. My role as a child was to listen. I had to listen. And I also had to listen to my elders. I had to listen to my elders. And that respect was taught at home. It wasn't taught at the schools. All those things weren't taught at the schools. You had to listen and be respectful to anybody that was older than you. You couldn't talk back. You could not talk back. I grew up with 6 sisters, so I knew I knew better. That transition to boy and manhood, we're prepared at a young age, and those laws and principles are followed right from day one. From day one, you can't touch the ground. You're not able to touch that ground right away when you're a baby. You can't have that little baby and put that baby on the ground. They're not supposed to touch the ground. And even when they're toddlers and they start getting older, those laws and principles are in place. Just like in psychology, where, if you say, well, what does a 4-year-old do? Well, they'll tell you. Well, we do too. We can, what they're supposed to know at that time, what they're supposed to be able to do at that time. And when they get into teenagers, and different tribes, they do it differently. And I know some tribes will bring that little boy into a sweat lodge ceremony. And after he's done that whole ceremony, he's a man. And there's some tribes where they'll fast for 4 days. And there's a ceremony at each level. Every spring, every fall, there's those ceremonies that have to take place for that little boy. Name, clan, and they start having sacred items. They start having those things. Kitijunan, they're called. Kitijunan is something that's sacred, that we all have. That doesn't make you a medicine man. That just makes you have sacred items. Kitijunan, those are your sacred items. Even I know some tribes they'll go kill a deer. They'll go kill a deer, and once they kill their first deer, then they become a man. Or that little boy will shoot a bow and arrow and kill a duck or a goose or something, and then they'll feast that, then he's a man. There's different ways, and different tribes do things differently, but it's not wrong, it's just different. And we all have that same place we're going, we just have a different way of getting there.